Young and the Restless Spoilers. Shock. Kyle Abbott had always been ambitious, but lately, that ambition had turned into something much darker. Gone were the days when he was simply content with being the son of Jack Abbott, heir to the prestigious Abbott Cosmetics empire. Now, Kyle had set his sights on something far greater, a twisted plan to destroy his own father, Jack, and Diane Jenkins, his stepmother. To Kyle, this was more than just a family feud. This was his path to power, and the person guiding him on this destructive journey was none other than Victor Newman. Victor Newman, the legendary patriarch of the Newman family and longtime rival of Jack Abbott, had always been a master manipulator, capable of turning people against each other with a few well-timed moves. He had been watching Kyle closely, sensing the young man's growing resentment towards his father. Victor saw in Kyle the perfect pawn, someone desperate for approval, hungry for success, and willing to do whatever it took to climb to the top. In Kyle's eyes, Victor was more than just a mentor. He was a savior, an ally who understood him in a way no one else did. Jack had never appreciated Kyle the way Victor did, and Kyle had grown tired of playing second fiddle to his father. With Victor's encouragement, Kyle believed he could finally step out of Jack's shadow and make a name for himself by destroying the very man who had raised him. Kyle's plan was bold, ruthless, and dangerous. He had collected damning evidence of business fraud within Abbott, evidence that could send Jack to prison and dismantle the company that had been the Abbott family's legacy for generations. Kyle had no illusions about what he was doing. This wasn't just about taking over the family business. This was about utterly ruining Jack, leaving him penniless, humiliated, and broken. To Kyle, the idea of watching Jack fall from grace was intoxicating. Jack, the man who had always lectured him about family loyalty and responsibility, would soon be nothing more than a cautionary tale. And Diane? She would fall right alongside him, paying for every slight, every perceived betrayal. They would be homeless, disgraced, and left to fend for themselves in a world that had no sympathy for failures. And Kyle, he would emerge victorious, with Victor by his side, finally earning the respect and admiration he had long craved. Or so he thought. Victor, of course, had his own agenda. He saw through Kyle's desperation and knew how to exploit it to his advantage. For Victor, this wasn't about helping Kyle, it was about destroying Jack Abbott once and for all. Jack had been a thorn in Victor's side for decades, and now, with Kyle's help, Victor had the perfect opportunity to eliminate him. Victor reveled in the idea of using Kyle's betrayal to bring Jack to his knees. Kyle, blinded by his need for approval, couldn't see that he was merely a pawn. As far as Victor was concerned, Kyle was useful, only as long as he helped Victor achieve his goal. Once Jack was out of the picture, Kyle would be of no further use. But for now, Victor played the part of the benevolent mentor, encouraging Kyle's every move and fueling his hatred for his father. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place when Kyle delivered the evidence to Victor. It was a treasure trove of incriminating documents, proof of fraudulent business dealings within Abbott that would land Jack behind bars if exposed. Kyle didn't hesitate for a second when handing over the files, fully trusting that Victor would know exactly what to do with them. "This is it," Kyle said, his voice filled with a mixture of excitement and cold determination. "This will destroy him. Jack won't see it coming." Victor leaned back in his chair, a satisfied smirk spreading across his face. He had been waiting for this moment for years, the moment when Jack Abbott would finally lose everything. And now, thanks to Kyle's betrayal, that moment had arrived. "You've done well, Kyle," Victor said, his voice oozing with approval. "With this, Jack's fate is sealed." Kyle felt a surge of pride at Victor's words. For the first time in his life, he felt truly valued, truly powerful. But beneath the surface, there was something else, a nagging doubt. A small voice in the back of his mind that questioned whether this was the right thing to do. Was he really willing to send his own father to prison? To destroy his family just to earn Victor's approval? But Kyle quickly silenced that voice. It was too late to turn back now. He had made his choice, and there was no undoing it. Jack Abbott would fall, and Kyle would rise from the ashes of his father's legacy. This was his destiny. As Victor took the evidence, Kyle signed over full control of it to him, giving Victor the authority to use it however he saw fit. In that moment, Kyle thought he had won. He had outsmarted his father, gained Victor's trust, and secured his future. But what Kyle didn't realize was that he had just signed his own downfall. Victor was no fool. He knew that once the dust settled, Kyle would become a liability. His willingness to betray his own family made him dangerous, unpredictable. Victor had no intention of keeping Kyle around once Jack was out of the picture. But for now, Kyle was still useful, and Victor would let him believe that he had won. In the days that followed, Kyle watched as the wheels of his plan began to turn. Jack, oblivious to the storm brewing around him, continued to run Jabot as if nothing were amiss. But Kyle knew better. He knew that soon Jack would be blindsided by the very son he had always tried to protect. But as the tension mounted, so did Kyle's inner turmoil. He had thought that betraying Jack would be easy, that the promise of power and success would erase any guilt he might feel. But as the reality of what he had done began to sink in,